Okay, and we are live again. My next guest, who are you and what brings you to JFall?
Yeah, so I'm John, and I am with my company Chillit. We are a Java consultancy, so we are here to promote our company, of course, and give away nice hot sauce and yeah, talk to developers.
So you're consultants, you come in a lot of companies.
Yeah.
How popular is Java?
How popular is Java? I would say it's the most popular in the enterprise world, at least. That's where we work. So we work for usually larger companies or governments. So there, Java is the biggest. Next best thing I would say is Python. So I also see a lot of Python, of course, but it's mostly Java, I would say. No.
And which version of Java are these institutions? Are they a bit following? Are they behind? What is the version you see there in production being used?
So maybe I'm lucky, but I mostly see modern stuff. But that's also what we're looking for. So Chillit, we try to look for projects that are going for the most modern stuff. So cloud technologies, most recent versions of Java. So I would say mostly we're up to 21. Sometimes if we're lacking behind a little bit, it's 17. And then when we're like projects that haven't been touched for a while on Java 11, I would say. So, but I have also seen projects, of course, that have Java 8 still. So yeah, I talked to a developer before today who is still on Java 8. So yeah.
You say cloud, so that are the products, the projects you're looking for. Is Java a good cloud citizen, as they call it?
I would say yeah, but you have to keep in mind certain quirks of Java, let's say, so that you have enough room for your JVM, that you also configure the heap size and that kind of stuff, so that make sure that you're like running as light as possible, that your like startup time is sometimes a little bit of an issue when you're, for example, on Kubernetes or stuff like that. But if you configure that all correctly, if you have like your rolling update correctly, and if you have made sure that like this is optimized a little bit, then it's no problem, I would say. So you have to keep in mind some stuff.
So I guess you're running mostly within Docker, so very small environments, can I say?
Yeah, so mostly Kubernetes actually. So when we're in governments, it's usually OpenShift with Kubernetes. Personally, I'm in a project at KPN. We're working on Kubernetes on like a own, let's say, cloud between a little bit of quotes, but it's their own cloud environment, for example. Yeah.
We are here in the Netherlands, so the Netherlands are always have been a country which is up with evolutions, and I'm from Belgium. Yeah. So how is this use of Kubernetes and cloud environments, is this really well used within government and in institutions?
Within governments, it's getting there. So not everyone is up to date. So I would say where is the biggest improvement possible? It's in governments. I would say bigger companies, they are on par. They still deploy on-premise sometimes, but then they have like cloud-like environments, let's say. So they do have like running on virtual machines, not running on bare metal anymore. So it's more easily scalable to add VMs to, for example, Kubernetes cluster or stuff like that. It's not as easy as like doing an API call and a few minutes later there's your instance, but it's still faster than buying servers, let's say. Yeah.
I guess you're an exhibitor here, so do you have booth duty, like they call it? Do you have to be at the booth the whole day, or do you have time to join some of the talks?
No, I have booth duty, so I'm one of the owners of the company, so I have to be there at the booth. So no, I don't. I have booth duty all day.
Did you look at the schedule? What are the evolutions that you think are most important that people should take a look at if they look at the recordings of the sessions? What are the important topics nowadays?
I have to be honest, I haven't looked at the timetable at all today. So I knew I was doing booth duty all day, so I didn't even get a chance to look at the.
But I guess the evolutions within Java, they are really something to follow up.
Yeah, so I see a lot of exciting stuff going on with OpenShift, for example. I see companies moving to that, and also I haven't worked that much with it, But it's definitely some promise for companies who have who can't go on the public cloud, for example, but do have their own private instances, which I like. Um, so I would say that maybe, yeah.
Open rewrite was already mentioned a few times to evolve your applications and keep them up to date. So I guess AI, of course. You get in touch with AI a lot within the projects you're using?
A little bit. We're using LLMs, of course, to personally, I use LLMs sometimes to look for test cases that I haven't looked at before, or I, for example, had a very specific want with a stream where I had a null element, and I wanted the null elements out of the list, for example, and it was, yeah, it's a bit hard to explain, but I couldn't do it with like a filter, for example. That wasn't possible. So then I was like, okay, I write my test case. I knew what I wanted, so I wrote the integration test, I wrote the unit test for it, and then I was like, okay, but now I just can't seem to get the stream right to get this what I wanted. So I was like, okay, change this into what I want, and it did it. So, for example, in those small edge cases, I would say, but it feels to me like AI is becoming a bit of the new blockchain. It solves all your problems, and no, I had for example, something with a manager. We were specifying requirements for a big project, and then I got the question oh, can't we solve this with AI? And it's like, yeah, no, it won't think. It can, of course, think of requirements for you, but it cannot see your use case. It cannot see the company context. That's what we humans are for. We interpret the context of a company. We know the company. We know the struggles, and we know why some solution works and why some solution doesn't work. And AI can. Well, I wouldn't say that it can't ever do that, but at the current state, it won't be able to. Yeah.
But I like your example where it generated some code for you. It's really like you can use it as a pair programming colleague to find some specific problem or solution for something you don't come up yourself.
Yeah, if you're either your solution is very simple and you just don't want to write the code for it, or it's a very small scope problem. So I wouldn't say tell it to write my application for me. It won't work because the more complex it gets, it even forgets what it generated before, so it will just contradict itself after a while. But yeah, if you have a very small scope problem, and what you said as a pair programming tool, it's definitely something to work with. I also had an example that I wanted to do. I have a scanner which cannot scan PDFs that are searchable, for example. So I wrote in combination with ChatGPT a small application that could parse the image and then make a searchable version of that PDF, for example, like an OCR. So it included an OCR library and stuff like that. It was a very small, simple application. Of course, small, simple utilities is definitely a use case.
And code you've never written before, something new, like OCR, if you've never done that before, it can guide you into which dependency and which code you can use for that.
Yeah, definitely. And explaining concepts. I'm definitely warming up to it as a learning tool. So let's say I wanted some specifics about RabbitMQ that I wasn't that familiar with. So I asked to explain it to me, and then if I have specific questions, I can just ask those questions and I get an answer, for example. Yeah.
Good. Thanks a lot for your time. Thanks for being here in the podcast and this live stream.